Hi.
How you doing?
Hey. I'm Grace Chan. I'm the controller.
I'm Damon Barone, Alief parent and taxpayer. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. This is our auditor.
Hi.
Lupe Garcia of Whitley, Penn.
Lupe?
Lupe.
How you doing? Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, this is not the final yet.
Yeah, I was surprised when I opened it. I was like, it's not what I thought I was bringing, but okay, it's gonna have to work now.
So then tomorrow you have to send the
Yes,
courier.
we'll send them over.
Where do you want to sit?
It doesn't matter either.
This is always my assigned seat, so I'll stick with kind of like when you go to classes and everybody always sits in the same spot every time. You staying plenty busy
Oh yes, I think
that time of year?
that time of year. Yeah, this last week in this school, I had 2 board meetings last week, 5 this week. Which,
Oh.
of course, I can't go to all 5.
How do you do 5 then?
We have to split them up, so Chris or Selena will go and present. Yeah.
5.
I think, tonight we have a manager going to another one, doing the
Yeah,
presentation. So
Eileen's doing another one.
Eileen's doing a charter school tonight. Yeah, that wasn't the one I was thinking of, but yeah, Eileen is at a charter school board meeting tonight.
I guess it helps them with some districts having a June year end now, but still the majority are in August, don't they?
Well, a lot have been converted to June.
Oh,
Every
wow.
year we have one
Really?
converting. So it's kind of getting to be more lopsided with more June year end than
Oh,
August
wow.
31st.
Why?
For the
Why?
advantage.
Yeah.
I think they like it being done by the holidays.
Oh, not have to worry
Not
about
to worry
it.
about it. The audit's done,
Yeah.
before Thanksgiving, and so they have
Okay.
Thanksgiving, Christmas, and
I guess that would be good timing.
It's like a trade-off.
I know Grace.
Yeah, 'cause then
Grace
it
stresses
eats into
about
the
it
summertime.
over Thanksgiving and Christmas.
because then they're thinking
Yeah,
audit in the middle of the summer, because they have to start getting ready
Right.
for the audit, August, beginning of September, right around the school year just starting.
Right. I think it's the additional uncertainty in setting the budget.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Effective
because you're going
July
to.
1 that really holds me back from wanting to
Yeah.
go that route.
And actually, changed the ordinance, so now I forgot when I'm still working on mine. I could go and see the next one.
See plenty of examples, yeah. That's true, it's already been done.
You know, so that's why I feel like, no, I'm not.
Okay.
I doubt it.
We usually have here 3 or 4.
Hello?
From there?
How are you? Come on in.
What days? Anywhere?
Yep,
Anywhere.
yep, you get first choice of seats.
I'm going. Be right back.
The company finally contacted me about that. On the Zoom, what happened, another phone meeting, probably on Thursday. So by Thursday, I guess I can send them the whole PDF and see what they say. Okay. TA said there's no.
They'll just mention it in the letter that they sent.
Who knows? Especially probably. The color of the grass.
Right.
And the font.
I mean-
So the several fonts.
Hello.
How are you?
Do we have special seats?
You don't, wherever you want to sit.
How are you?
Lupe Garcia from Whitley.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So, John, I'm assuming you're
Yes,
sitting here?
yes.
Do you know who's all coming?
I know. I don't know if Mr. Chambers or Charles had any confirmations or not, but I haven't heard.
Okay. Cause I know people work and, you
I
know,
know.
board members and stuff. So, I did speak with, Ann, trustee Williams, and, so she said if we could, I could go ahead and get it started. She's on her way.
Okay.
So everybody can, hey, everybody, you know, we're working
Yeah,
and
I
trying
know
to get off
sometimes
it.
she's.
How y'all doing?
Good, how are you?
I'm good, Grace, you all right?
Mr. Chambers, have you met, Mr. Lupe Garcia?
Yes, we've met in the
Yeah,
past.
yeah, we've
Probably,
seen
yeah.
each other. Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
David, how are you, sir?
All right, how about yourself?
Doing well, doing well.
Who turned this into? There was nobody at the front when I went.
Yeah, we'll take it back here.
Appreciate it.
You betcha. I know Ann said she's not gonna be here till like 4:55 or 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
She's caught in traffic, so.
Yes, I
So
can,
you'll preside over this.
sure, I can start.
Okay. I don't know.
Do you
anyone
know
else.
if Lily's, okay, so we,
I shouldn't be here. I'm not right here. I was in the area. I can make
Hey,
meetings.
did you stop by?
No, I had time to make meetings today. Like usually I'm driving around town, but today I had a car accident, not my accident. Someone's accident, I'm washing it off my hand. Well, before that, we're good now. This is the last minute decision.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, exactly.
This is backwards.
So I just call it.
Okay, sure.
Call it order and then keep going.
4:30. Okay, I would like to call to order, the board meeting for Alief ISD. And the time is special call meeting. Do I have to state what it's for, or just special call? That's right. For a special call meeting, and the time is 4:33. And let's see, we will begin with a speaker to the posted agenda item, Mr. Damon Barone. He is here to address agenda item 3.
Oh, we just started.
Good afternoon, thank you. Damon Barone, Alief ISD taxpayer, Alief ISD parent. I'm excited to be here to attend the audit committee meeting. As you may be aware, I have not previously attended any audit committee meetings, and it made me question why this has been the case. As an active parent, mentor, and community member, my questions and concerns about the audit committee meeting are as follows. First, I noticed that the meeting is not being conducted in a boardroom like all other special call meetings. Because the audit meeting is being held in the superintendent's conference room, it gives the impression to the public that the meeting is not inviting to the public to sit in on. Another concern that I have is who is on the audit committee. Is this a board committee or a district committee? Who prepares the audit report, and how are the results shared with the public, as it is not on the agenda for tonight's 6:30 p.m. regular school board meeting? How long has the district been using the same firm to conduct the audit, as Houston is the fourth largest city, and I'm sure that there are lots of firms to provide similar services, business services. Lastly, why is this a special call meeting instead of having the presentation during the regular scheduled board meeting in 2 hours at 6:30 p.m. so that the community members have an opportunity to get off from work and attend the meeting? Thank you.
We could comment on a couple of those,
If you'd like to comment.
Damon, just a couple of things.
Sorry.
Just a couple real quick. I won't be able to answer all the questions, but some of this goes back in terms of the audit committee, if you will. Kind of predates me. That the board makes up, to answer your question about who makes up the audit committee, it's the entire board. So it's not one of the 3-member committees that have been formed over the last couple of years. It's just open to any board member. I guess by definition, it's the entire board, but it's open to any board member who wants to come back and have a little more informal conversation with those who provided the audit services for. So that's kind of who's on the audit committee or what makes up the audit committee.
Okay.
It's been held back here just because it's always been held back here. No one from the public. I mean, obviously, if someone from the public wanted to attend, they could, but we've never had anybody from the public.
We did have somebody about 20 years ago.
So
Public.
predating,
But-
yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
So-
before your time.
So no attempt to hide, no attempt to, because what you're.
No, not an attempt, but just the feeling that, I mean, even myself, I asked, and I read it at the bottom, it stated that it was open, but it just gives the feeling like it's not open to the public.
Understood. You will see that what's going to be talked about back here, almost 99.99% is what's going to be presented in the regular board meeting in most cases.
Today?
Today, yeah.
Okay.
And that's been like that forever. It's by law, we're required to have a public hearing, if you will, or not a hearing, but a public presentation to the board of the audit findings. Good, bad, ugly, the whole 9 yards. And the board is, by law, every school board, every elected board is charged with considering approval of that audit. And it takes place in January because we're a September to August fiscal year, so it takes place in the prior January. And they can tell you, it'll take 3 or 4 months to prepare the audit to actually be submitted. So yeah, I get it. I mean, in terms of the appearance that we're trying to not be open to the public on this, the public meeting that's going to be held at 6:30, whenever this item comes up at 6:30, you will see that the majority of it's going to be just kind of repeated in public. So.
By this gentleman here?
Yeah.
Okay.
Ms. Chang, our controller, will do the presentation. Our auditor here is just to answer questions and kind of go over it and just kind of give anyone that's interested in a feel for just kind of where their findings are and what their findings found, and including, obviously I've been privy to it because they've been working on this with Deanna and her staff for the last 3 or 4 months.
Right.
But in terms of the public, displaying this and showing to the public, that's what this meeting here, and then obviously the 6:30 meeting. Where can you find it? It'll be posted on the website, and I'll let them explain how this gets reported through CAFR and through, you hear us talk about all the awards we win. Part of the way in which we qualify ourselves to be recognized by governmental accounting agencies is the way the audit is prepared, the cleanliness of it, which is a technical term in accounting. And so you'll see, but you'll find it on the website.
Okay. And how long have they been utilized?
I don't know that.
28 years.
28 years.
It originally was
was Noel Larson, then Noel Larson merged with Whitley Penn, but it's kind of the same group.
And just to your question on term or length of relationship,
Right.
we put,
The RFP?
yeah, since I've been going on 9 years, we've had 2 RFQs.
We did one, that was 7 years ago.
Yeah, when I first got here, we did an RFQ. A couple of years into me getting here, we did an RFQ and invited, we had final several that submitted their qualifications. And we had a board committee at the time, made up of several board members at the time. I want to say Ms. Williams was a part of that.
I think she was.
There was 2 others. Anyway, the ultimate
Would have had to be
decision
Tiffany Thomas and Deidre if it was during your tenure, and then, unless it was prior to
was, no,
them.
it was prior to them.
Okay.
I want to say.
Gary Cook.
2020.
It was Gary
John
Cook,
Hanson.
that's right, it was John Hanson, Gary Cook, and Ms. Williams. Ann
Okay.
Williams, that's what it was. Anyway, they made the decision, brought back to the board at that time, their recommendation to continue our relationship with Noel Larson at the time. And then Noel Larson was purchased by Whitney Penn or merged. So now they've gone by Whitney Penn for the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's, hopefully that answers your question.
It did.
Okay.
Then even though we use the same firm, but we require the rotation of the engagement partner. So this is the first year for Lupe
Okay.
as an engagement partner. So we rotate partner every 3 years. We require them to rotate.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, and we are ready for the presentation.
We will turn it over to Mr. Garcia.
Well, first of all, good afternoon, members of the board, Superintendent Chambers. It's my pleasure to be here today to present to you the results of the district's fiscal year 2019 financial statement audit, federal single audit. Everyone should have in front of them a presentation that we prepared that's going to take us through the audit process, the results of the audit, and some financial statement highlights and required communications. And then you also have drafts of the comprehensive annual financial report, which is the larger, thicker document, the binder clip. And then there's a draft of the federal single audit report, which I'll be referencing as I go through the presentation. The engagement team, in addition to myself, so I'm going through this presentation now. Tom Peterson was the concurring partner. His role in the engagement was to review the comprehensive annual financial report, the single audit report, and then key work papers in our audit file. His involvement is a level of quality control in the engagement. We're required to have an engagement quality control review performed. So he has over 40 years of experience, 30 years in public accounting, 10 years as a director of finance for a municipality here in Texas. Eileen Comple was the engagement manager, so she led field work on site, working with management and the administration, and leading the senior associate Alex and the 2 associates Carla and Kevin. So this entire engagement team serviced the district for fiscal year 2019 and completing the audit services. The audit process is a journey. It takes several months to get through a audit. This kicked off early last year with the execution of the engagement letter. Then we're on site for 2 weeks during what we call interim field work. So we come out and we're performing procedures during the year that's under audit. So we were on site for 2 weeks during the summer in the month of June. That phase of field work, we're focusing on processes, internal controls, testing compliance with federal and state requirements, especially those requirements that apply to the district's federal programs. Once the fiscal year is over and management has an opportunity to post all closing entries to the general ledger, we return and we're on site again for another 2 weeks. At that point in time, we're focusing on the financials. We're testing the financial statements. We're making sure that the transactions recorded in the general ledger meet our expectations based on budgets and amendments made by the board, based on decisions made by the board during the year. We want to make sure that the financial statements, everything that's in this document here, tells the full and accurate story of Alief ISD for this period of time. So we do that by confirming information with third parties directly. We do that by confirming information, corroborating information with source documentation that we request from management and performing various analytical procedures. So in total, we're on site for a month out of the year, 2 weeks during interim field work, 2 weeks during year-end field work, and then there's a lot of work that happens remotely from our offices as well. So all this is in an effort to obtain enough audit evidence to issue an opinion on the financial statements. So there, as external auditors, there's 3 different types of audit opinions we can give on a set of financial statements. A disclaimer would be an example, either the records didn't exist or the records were in such poor shape that we weren't able to issue any type of assurance at all and whatsoever. So that would be a huge red flag. A modified opinion would be that everything's okay except for the items that we list in our report. And then a clean opinion, and this is the opinion we've issued for Alief for fiscal year 2019, is referred to or called an unmodified opinion. So our unmodified opinion, what you would refer to as the audit report, is only 3 pages of this document. So everything else that's in this comprehensive annual financial report comes from the district. So I think that's noteworthy because not every school district, not every government can prepare this document in-house. So I think that's something that needs to be pointed out because that speaks to the experience and the competence on staff here at the district that they're able to prepare this document in-house. So the only thing in this document that comes from us is our 3-page audit report that contains our unmodified opinion. So that opinion is the highest level of assurance that we give on a set of financial statements. Once this document is made public and issued, the users of the financial statements, in addition to the board, in addition to management, the public, but the financial advisors, the credit rating agencies, they're waiting for this report to be issued. They're going to make sure first that our opinion is unmodified, and then they'll perform their analysis knowing that the information is materially correct and complete in this report. The next 2 reports that I'm going to refer to are contained in this separately issued single audit report. This is the thinner document. So because we do perform the audit in accordance with government auditing standards, we do have to report on the district's internal controls over financial reporting. And so I'm happy to report that in this report, as a result of our audit procedures, we didn't identify any deficiencies or any material weaknesses that we had to report there. No non-compliance of materials to the financial statement. So that's a clean report there. I mentioned earlier the term single audit or federal single audit. So because the district does receive federal awards from federal agencies, in addition to the audit of the financial statements, it also has to go through a compliance audit of those federal programs. So in fiscal year 2019, there were 3 major programs. So we tested Title I, the special education cluster, and then Title IV, Part A. Overall, during fiscal year 2019, the district expended almost $65 million in federal awards. So our 3rd and final report is on the district's compliance with these major programs. So no internal control deficiencies or material weaknesses, no question costs, and no non-compliance that we noted. So it's pretty common for a governmental entity to receive an unmodified opinion. What's not common is for the governmental entity to have such clean results. Not a deficiency, not a material weakness of some sort. So I think that's noteworthy as well to point out that not only is it an unmodified opinion on the financial statements and on compliance, but also there's no deficiencies, no significant material weaknesses or significant deficiencies. So 3 clean reports, so it's very good. Looking at just some financial statement highlights, this condensed statement of net position is the district's balance sheet on a full accrual basis of accounting. So this is very similar to the basis of accounting you would see in the private sector. So this reports all of the district's assets, including its capital assets. So total assets on August 31st, 2019 were $778.4 million. The majority of that balance is going to be in the district's capital assets: land, building, vehicles, equipment, net depreciation. Current and other assets of $248.8 million. That's cash, investments, and receivables of the district. You have total liabilities of $750.8 million. A large part of that balance is going to be your non-current liabilities or your outstanding bonds and unamortized premiums. This is year number 2 of reporting this net OPEB liability. So kind of in the middle of the page, you see a line item that says net OPEB liability. So OPEB stands for Other Post-Employment Benefits, and this is retiree health care through the Teacher Retirement System of Texas.
Which, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
We're not responsible for,
But
we have to report it.
Yeah.
But in no way, ever, shape, or form, unless they pass a new law, would we ever have to cover retirement benefits for retirees. But because they want to share it off their books, they push it on all the school districts to have to carry it on their books.
TRS.
Yes.
TRS care, yeah.
This is the second fiscal year for this?
This is the second year of the district having to report this particular liabilities. The one right above it, the net pension liability, this is year number 5 of reporting this liability. You can see there was a pretty dramatic increase in the net pension liability from 110 million to 182 million this year. TRS, the board of TRS made some decisions to the actuarial assumptions. They made some changes to the actuarial assumptions. So they decreased the long-term rate of return and the discount rate, which had an effect of increasing the liability. So like Mr. Woods alluded to, this information is given to the district, and the district has no control over it. And if the district doesn't report it as provided, then we can't issue our unmodified opinion. So really, this is a financial reporting requirement only. This is not a liability the district will ever have to liquidate or pay off. But it is information, and as time passes and there's 10 years of data, 20 years of data, you'll see trends. And lawmakers, people at the state level will use that information to make policy decisions. Do contributions need to increase from the school districts, from the employees, from the state, or does the other side, do benefits need to be changed in some way to control this liability? So,
I just have to point out, it's also the 5th year that Charles has objected to this information being included on our reports.
right.
It's
Put that on record?
It's government nonsense, because it means nothing.
Is it just a general ledger?
It's not even really that. It's
Okay.
It's so that they can take their liability and push it off onto entities like us, and they don't have to carry it as their liability.
Blame game.
And
I
so,
shouldn't have
so it
got
makes the
started.
fund look more reliable, and the TRS care look more reliable. And they, like he said, Lucas said, they had to change the amount of return that they had projected they're gonna get on their fund balance, the fund, the 40 billion or whatever. And bottom line is, they're still way under projecting what they're actually getting. It just makes it look so dire when they go into session that they boost up and say, whoa, we gotta get some more money from employees, higher contributions.
This issue came up as a political issue whenever they began realizing how much, when they added up all the fund balances for district offices in Texas. And there was something like $7.5 billion of fund balance in school district accounts, if you will. That's what, I remember the conversation, they go, well, my God, there's $7 billion of public ed money not being spent out there. There's another way to make it, so there was
So
a
was
lot
this
of,
proposed by TRS itself or by a lawmaker?
well, I'm sure TRS was instigating. There's no lawmaker smart enough to do that.
Well, and it's all entities that have a pooled pension plan of
Other
that
states
nature.
So like police?
It's not just.
If
the
we had a
TRS,
401k and that's what our offering for retirement was, then it'd be appropriate, because we're running a 401k for our employees, but this isn't.
And it was really governments in other parts of the country that, the reason why GASB, which is the body that creates the rules for financial reporting for local governments, and then those governments that are single employers, where they kick the can down the road and they don't contribute to the plan like they're supposed to, and then they have an underfunded plan, and there's employees and retirees with a benefit they have been promised their entire careers, and there's nothing in the bank.
Cities and police departments, fire
Right.
departments.
So TRS is a great third-party administrator. They keep all the districts in line and make sure everyone pays what they're supposed to pay. So in the pension world, this is a healthy pension plan. The retiree health care is a little different because that's a pay-as-you-go type benefit. There's not a set-aside trust and cash investments that's building to fund that benefit. So that's not as guaranteed as the pension. But there is a difference between the pension and the retiree health care in that regard. So that's important to note.
Sorry.
On this next slide, this is the district's fund financial statements. This is probably a little more familiar to you, information you receive periodically during the year. So the first column is the general fund. This is the district's main operating account. The general fund had a positive change in fund balance of $6.3 million. The special revenue fund, or the district's federal, state, and local special revenue funds, for the most part, the funds in this column, revenues equal expenditures, so there's not going to be much of a fund balance. And most of the funds, we have an ending fund balance of just under 7 million. The capital projects fund is the fund that your bond proceeds are accounted for in, your capital project, capital outlay expenditures are accounted for. So during fiscal year 2019, there was a bond issuance, so that's that large $58 million other financing sources. So there was a lot of activity capital outlay wise, so ending fund balance in that fund was 64.3 million. And then the district's debt service fund is the fund where the INS portion of the tax rate is accounted for, and then payment, bond, principal and interest payments are accounted in. So ending fund balance here is 23.4 million. So that was the activity in the district's governmental funds.
And that's more like the information for the general fund that you're used to receiving when I give financial projections and year-end results, and we adopt our budget based on our fund statements.
The general fund's performance compared to final budget, there was a positive change in fund balance of 6.3. We just discussed that on the previous slide. If you look at the final budget column, the district had projected to decrease fund balance by 3 million. Because it actually increased fund balance by 6.3, there was a favorable variance of 9.3 million here compared to the budget. Primarily because total expenditures were under budget by the 9.9 million. Fund balance is as Mr. Chambers mentioned earlier, government's financial statements, fund balance gets a lot of attention. Fund balance is not the district's savings account. This is the district's working capital. This is how the district operates, pays vendors, pays employees. So this is a balance on a day and time. So unassigned fund balance is that portion of fund balance that's available for spending. So on August 31st, 2019, that unassigned fund balance figure was almost $77 million. You can see where that balance was the prior 4 fiscal years. So over the last 3 fiscal years, you see it's been steadily increasing, and that's a good thing.
Turn right into the conference room.
Okay, so almost 77 is working. I'm sorry.
Working capital. So the only way fund balance can increase year over year is if you're spending less than you're taking in. So being a good financial steward of the district's resources, not spending outside of the district's means. That $77 million in fund balance, if you want to think of it in terms of how many days of operating expenditures in the general fund does that represent? That represents 65 days, which is a healthy place to be in. That's a little over 2 months. GFOA recommends 2 to 3 months of unassigned fund balance. TEA has financial first rating indicators that look at this type of thing just to make sure that the district is not living, to put it on an individual basis, paycheck to paycheck, that they have a good operating capital to make payments to vendors and employees.
And there's an upper limit, they don't want you to go past 3 months.
There's no official upper limit, and if you look at school districts, they're kind of all over the place, but the general guidance is 2 to 3 months. For probably what you're thinking of is nutrition, and federal requirements are that we can only have 3 months
Right.
on hand in that one.
I'll end my presentation by going through some required communications. So as part of the audit, we also review the district accounting policies, and they are in line with industry standards. There weren't any new significant pronouncements that the district had to implement in fiscal year 2019 to be reflected in the financial statements. The financial statements do include estimates, so that's important to note because estimates can change in the future. By far, the largest estimate in these financial statements is anything related to the pension and the OPEB liability and the related inflows and outflows and expenses related to the pension and retiree health care plan. That comes from TRS. They have actuaries, they have auditors that compile that information and provide it to the district. Other estimates include state aid revenue. There's a lot of variables that go into determining how much state aid the district can receive in a given year. Allowances for uncollectible receivables is calculated based on historical collection. And then management's estimate of the useful lives of capital assets has an impact on depreciation expense. So we've reviewed the estimates and they are presented appropriately. top of the next slide, I'm happy to report that we didn't encounter any difficulties in performing and completing the audit. We had management staff's complete cooperation through each phase of the audit over the last 8 to 9 months. Anyone that we asked to meet with was made available. Any questions we had were answered in a timely manner. Anything that we asked to review was provided to us in a timely manner. So, I do want to thank management and staff and the district for their cooperation and support through this entire process. We didn't identify any misstatements as hard as we look. There was nothing that we identified where we had to bring to management and say, this is wrong, you have to fix this or else we can't issue our unmodified opinions. That's a great job by the district management and staff. No disagreements with management when it came to the application of any accounting principles or any accounting estimates. We do obtain from management what's referred to as a management representation letter. In that letter, management signs, provides it to us. They're representing to us that the district's been a full and open book. They haven't withheld any information that would be material to the financial statements or an event that might need to be disclosed in the financial statements. So it reads a little bit like a checklist, just one final, okay, let's read through this letter. Did any of this happen? And if so, let us know and we can discuss as to whether or not it needs to be reported or disclosed in the financial statements. And then as far as we're aware, the district isn't consulting with any of their accountants or auditors. Not that there's anything wrong with that necessarily, but if that came to our attention, we would have to inform you, that way you would also know. And then the last bullet here at the bottom of the slide. During the year, management may ask us questions, they may ask for guidance, and we'll provide answers and provide guidance, but at no time do we feel we have to take a certain position on any matter or provide any type of answer in order to serve as the district's external auditors of the financial statements.
I gotta add to that too. I think it was about 4 years ago that really we ramped up, the industry in auditing, ramped up the IT auditing side of things for internal controls. And now we have, signed contracts with, or agreements with anybody we provide data to, third parties and all that. So it's gotten a lot tighter where MIS and Wally's department are all contributing, hitting certain bullets of controls of who can give their self access to payroll, who can, all those IT related functions too, to make sure that that's checked, whereas 20 years ago that wasn't really on the radar of the financial audit, but it is now. And then Whitley Penn staff goes and interacts with purchasing, and they do the random sampling as well as key areas where they want to look, and so we have no input into that. They say, this is what I want, these are the files to pull, and then they verify bid laws, all the controls with purchasing, and same thing goes with payroll and the HR function.
Accounts
They
payable,
did
tax
everything.
office, yes.
Checks also.
It's pretty neat.
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry. One of the statements you made was that it's not unusual to have an unmodified report, but to have a clean report as well. What do you attribute that to, just having it so clean, a clean report? Is it because you've been with us or we've been with you for a while and we know what you tell me.
Right, yeah, I don't think it has any, I think it has more to do with the experience of the people at the district and the departments, the expertise. I can't think of another district that has as many licensed CPAs on staff, which is great, because they have the training and the background and the experience to know, okay, how should an organization operate, what policies and procedures and controls need to be in place to make sure there's adequate segregation of duties, that it's not, you're not having to trust someone, there's a system and a process in place that's going to prevent any type of misstatement, whether by accident or on purpose.
We have had a finding in past you know,
Not all
where,
of them.
where somebody coded something on the grant fund
Something
to
like
the
that.
was-
wrong
but-
payroll
But it was,
account number was used or something.
2007.
Inadvertent, but still,
Was it time after or?
But, I would say to kind of answer that too, as being a board member as long as I have, and understanding doing audits in the past. A lot of it is attributed to understanding the controls and adhering to them, and when there are changes that are done, I know that this team, adhere to them quickly, so we don't let things get out of control, that we need to put them back. And we know that as board members as well, because some of the things that we tend to do, that we find out, because we have new board members, some things we're finding out along the way, we're saying, wait a minute, what's our standard for doing that? And, you know, just with our operating procedure, trying to make sure that our processes align with what the controls are of the district has been a good, you know, take on that, so I think that we're doing pretty well. And as far as for asking the question, having the relationship so long, I think a couple of years ago, we talked about relationships with the firms, but understanding the audit process, that the same person doesn't always audit you each and every time.
yes,
You know, so that's really, you know, there's no way around it, because we can get I don't think I've ever met you before.
We talked about that a little earlier. This was his first year.
I was looking through, I was like, I don't remember you, but, you know, but understanding that process as well, that when fresh eyes come in, they are seriously fresh eyes. There is no such thing as, okay, by the way, these are the things that you need to look for, because, you know, we're all familiar with the audit process. So I would say that is because I know for a fact that we are always looking at those controls and making sure that we're at the right standard level. And I can say that, I'm saying that from, you know, on the board side, because I think initially coming on, I had many questions to also know that, because of my understanding of audit, so.
And I asked the question because it's, you know, a public meeting, and I'm sure there's, public wants to know that, well, you know, well, how did they do that? And so I think it's a, you know, a
We have
question.
a lot of really picky procedures that drive people crazy.
Absolutely.
On that side of it, there's lots of
Requiring
Absolutely.
signatures
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and supporting documentation and
Absolutely. Which I,
all the bid laws we're required to comply with that really get tedious.
None of us wanted to make the walk of shame to the accounting department to explain why.
You can find this receipt.
now, one quick example of that is when we wanted to go out for the board attorney. We wanted to be very careful that we were not going outside of the range of what was the norm. We wanted to make sure that everything was tailored to that, so that you know, we didn't have any gaps or anything in that. So I think it's just having that consciousness of, wait a minute, how have we done it in the past? Are we still in the right vein and keeping with that? So.
You got best in business now.
Yes, we do.
Yes.
You do.
We know we do, absolutely, absolutely,
I'm heartbroken by the way.
absolutely. So,
And I can remember as an employee sitting with Grace going over state comp ed funds that I was in charge of, and I had to say, okay, slow down. I don't know it by 25.48, or you're gonna have to tell me what section that is. So, and you did.
That goes a long way for us, so I'm just-
A high level of integrity and attention to detail and making sure that procedures are followed.
and can I also add that to get a clean audit, it doesn't just happen with this, it happens with people doing their own internal audits frequently, and I know that you guys do that as well.
And holding people accountable to follow the procedures, which y'all do very well.
And this is not really just accounting, it's really the whole
It's
district.
across the board, absolutely.
You know, human resource, tax office, purchasing, warehouse, MIS, tax service, everything.
Yeah, including the secretaries that maintains them, because they're constantly watching those
And
budgets.
nutrition, yes, actually, they do interview each department and go through the procedures.
So, are there any other questions?
I'm glad we have all these procedures in place. I think it keeps.
Sometimes it's nerve wracking, but it's worth it. It's worth it on this.
So just real quick, a little tad bit about the fund balance again. You know, we've pointed that out, it went up. You know, as every time we have a legislative session meet, to change the laws a little bit. This time was a lot of changes, and so this is the first year of those changes with House Bill 3. So state funding was dramatically changed in creating this budget and the raises that were given. And so fund balances are going to take different directions for different districts based on what they decided to spend of that new allotment of funds that they received. And as Deanna said, there are districts around us that typically in the past hadn't had very large fund balances that have grown significantly. They've taken an active role in trying to build that fund balance, and it's in the hundreds of millions of dollars, way beyond 90 days. And so we're not saying that we're going to change direction or anything like that. I'm just saying that that fund balance number, you have to remember, that is a moment in time. If we were to liquidate and say, we're stopping the business today, this is how much we'd have left. And so that reality is not like a balance in the checking account that we can spend to. And it drops down in the $40 million to $50 million range during the year based on ebb and flow of cash coming in from tax receipts and from the state. So that will change too, because the state's now giving us different lumps of money at different times in the payment cycle. So fund balance will continue to be a topic we talk about until House Bill 3 is customary to everybody of how it's going to work. But
so how is that? How are we adjusting to that? Because you know what we keep talking about, the board heard. If your fund balance is adjusted at a certain level, you could be greatly impacted. So with House Bill 3, you know, are we gonna, you know, remain flat in our fund balance or what?
It's going to grow a little bit this first year as we adopted a surplus budget, because
Right.
we're going to implement full day pre-K, but we're getting paid for those dollars all the years up to the point where we're actually live with full day pre-K. So that staffing cost we don't have. We have some. We have about $1 million, but we're going to have up to $7 million of the staffing costs when it's fully implemented. So we'll bank those dollars, if you will. So we'll have a little raise in fund balance this year. It'll be a little less next year because we're opening more full day pre-K. So each year, how much we're banking. Plus, in that is the estimate of enrollment, and then the differential between the property value at the time we do budget, and now we're being paid off of current year property values instead of prior. So that change sometimes will cause a difference in how much we project we're going to get in state revenue. So there's some timing issues that's kind of complex to go through without a visual.
I'm preparing for that.
But we're going to cover that at
Well,
retreat.
that's what I'm saying, you know, especially when we come back around to audit and those rules that will be applying because of that.
Yeah,
You know,
so
just-
we're
being proactive.
We're in a very good position by having fund balance go up last year, going up again this year. We're in a very solid net plus position. But we know that unless we get more kids, or they change the law, or we have a TRE and ask voters for more money, that money's not going up. And so until the next legislative session, we've got to realize that we're waiting, you know, hand to mouth to say, give us some more money now. We need to give raises year 3 and year 4 and year 5 and year 6. And the only way we can do that is if the legislature gives us some more money, or we raise taxes, which we don't want to do.
I think the more uncertainty that exists, the more people in my position want to see that fund balance grow, because that's really what it's there for, is to manage that uncertainty. So if estimates are off, and there's never been a year for more complex estimates with a new law passing in May and implementing a budget September 1. So that's another reason why we recommended the surplus budget for 1920. And we're going to talk as we begin the new budget process, which will begin in February, the budget for next year. We build from the base of where we ended last year, where we project we're going to end this current year, and then build next year's budget with a lot of estimates and projections built into it that we try to keep the board informed on as we move through the process through August, because things will be changing a lot this year through the budget process. In estimates.
We also.
A whole new world.
I guess you guys are looking forward to it too as well.
Well, they're lucky because all they have to do is come in, okay, this is what happened, are these numbers right?
We also already saw that from our preliminary work during House Bill 3 and subsequent, some of the early findings from TASB is that I think we were very precise in estimating the amount of raise we could give. And we're very on target with where that went. From 0 to 5 and the 6 and more experience, that we really made headway in that realm. And so that'll be evident when we get the study back.
That moved us back up.
All right, do you have any more questions related to the audit?
The only other thing I'd add is perhaps in the future, but you might expect to see, depending on how the effective educator compensation discussion goes, and how the extended school year goes.
Yes.
Shooting what Charles mentioned, there is no built-in raise, if you will, for school districts from year to year. The only built-in additional revenue short of additional enrollment or values is going to be whether you play ball in the arena of some of these grants, for lack of a better word. And I think that might, depending on what we as a district do with that, that might impact future audits, because that would be an additional source of revenue that we have not accounted for in the past. So other than that, we'll say this publicly, public, appreciate Grace and Deanna and their entire team. Obviously.
Absolutely.
So at the board meeting tonight, Grace will go through, he was included in the board agenda packet, kind of a high-level summary of the financial data. Lupe will be there to give his report on the audit findings based on the financial data. And that will be it. We'll move on to next year. Grace has about 2 weeks of work, once the board approves the audit, tonight to get it filed with all the agencies and TEA and various formats and our financial advisors and credit reporting agencies. So quickly, people start asking for information once it's there.
And it will be on the website?
Yes.
Follows the same protocol.
Should be
So,
tomorrow.
yeah, once approved.
Yeah.
Yes, assuming that.
Yeah, absolutely. Do you have any questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, I have my watch in front of you.
It's 5:16.
Committee meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
I think I still have his copy. Oh. Yeah, borrow. Don't say steal it. That's dumb.
Try to say which was a big deal, where it's like, you know, and it's like,
Right.
so it's those things that, you know,
Yes, let's go ahead and disperse and go get our dinner.
Right.
I think that she went ahead and set it up early.
Today,
Okay.